Hopefully everything should be okay now. You guys let me know if you can hear me well or not. As you're coming into the live stream, hopefully. And we do have a lot to go through today. So now give me just 1 second just for me to check the final setups. Okay, everything seems good. So welcome y'all. I hope that you guys are doing very well today. Sorry, I got a little bit delayed, but you know how it is. There's always a little bit of unforeseen events in the middle of the week, but that's how life is. So nothing to complain on that. So I'll give a little bit of time for people to come in. So I'm planning to stay with you guys, about half an hour. I hope you guys have some questions for me. I hope you guys would like to discuss a few things. By the way, don't forget, as you come in, please drop that like and subscribe if you haven't done it. We are quickly approaching the 1,100 subs, which is also a great mark. So, don't forget, deploy that like and subscribe on entry. Now, obviously, there's a lot happening in the crypto space, so I will leave that a little bit towards the second half of the stream. Otherwise, I will lose all of your attention, and it will feel a little bit, it will lose the momentum if I jump into, other topics before I tackle crypto. Now, if you guys have paid attention, basically there's a big likelihood now that the rate cuts will happen in the US in June. I think it's about 60%, versus something like 20-30% in May. As you may know, I mentioned, I think last year, that I was expecting rate cuts indeed between May and June, but I ended up predicting making a wild guess. So even if I'm correct, I won't take credit. If I'm wrong, fine, so be it. But I do believe that is an event that can cause some headwinds. Now, here is the funny part, which is core PCE, which is the Fed's favorite inflation metric, came hotter than expected, came at around 3% instead of the expected 2.8%. Now, that's actually good for the markets, as strange as it sounds. Not in the day of the news like today, but it's actually good because it throws back the rate cuts for a few months. Now, this is something that we actually want to see, as strange as it sounds. And the reason is people forget, people are so desperate for the rate cuts, they forget that when you have the rate cuts, actually markets tend to sell off quite aggressively every single time. So that is the funny part, in my opinion, which is people are so excited for the rate cuts, but it's like they never looked at the charts, and you'll see that rate cuts, yes, eventually after a few months they actually produce an upward effect, because you are basically injecting money into the system, but it's not being lent out because there is too much debt on the average person life. But it will be very helpful to push up all asset prices, particularly the ones with the highest risk. In the case of crypto, that would be good for us, but not in the short term. But this is something that people tend to forget, that the rate cuts are actually not that great for the markets. What is great is the pricing of the rate cuts. That is the part that people like. You see, people are still making some, oh my God, inflation is still going up, 3%, 2.8%. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If they cannot bring the official inflation to 2%, they will come up with an idea or an excuse of why in the modern economy, now particularly with artificial intelligence and all of these things, actually 3% is better than 2%. That's the only thing they need to do. They just need to come out and say, look, the 2% target was based on the old economy. But now that we have the new economy pushed by AI, etc., which is all a bunch of BS, in case you guys don't know, but it's all fugazi. It's all to justify higher inflation. If they cannot bring it to 2, They will say something like that. Now, the funniest part is the fastest way to bring inflation to 2% would be actually to cut rates, because that's a big cost for companies, which then they need to pass through the consumers. So it would actually be great for deflation. If you don't believe me, just look at what's happening in China, which they are facing deflation despite keeping on printing money non-stop. So that would be actually the ideal scenario in order to bring inflation down. What else? I mean, stocks are still very close to its new all-time highs. AI is still on a big bubble. And by the way, this is something I would like to address, which is eventually as the crypto cycle plays out, and I will probably shift some of the profits into stocks. Now, what I'm looking for is AI, in my opinion, is clearly the future. But what is the problem with this? Is now every company, much like the dot-coms in the 90s, are just saying, whatever AI, the blue sky AI, this AI, that AI. Many of these companies are nothing more than PowerPoint presentations. They will never have assets. They will never have clients. They will never have the software. They will never do what they propose to do. But they know that there's a lot of money flowing into the AI space, just like the dot-coms in the 90s, which means that that bubble is growing. Is it close to burst? Is it going to explode next week? No, I don't think so. I think we still have some room to grow. I think when you start listening to stuff like AI will cure all men's problems next year, like stuff like that, like completely, okay, I'm a big enthusiast, but when people start saying this crazy stuff, then I would say it's most likely will be reaching a top. And I think a lot of these companies will never be anything more than, a PowerPoint presentation. Now, we've seen this in other industries, so this is not going to be the first time. We've seen this in the dot-coms, as I mentioned. We've seen this in hydrogen companies. We've seen this in EV charging companies, electric vehicles. I mean, you name it, we've seen a lot of this across jurisdictions, so it's nothing new. But it's clear to me that just like the dot-coms were the next big thing for the last 20 years, I do believe AI will be the next big thing. So what I will be looking at is companies that after you have a big sell down, I'm talking about 80%, maybe 90%, not on NVIDIA in particular. Okay, I'm talking about these smaller players, unproven, unprofitable, blue, pie in the sky valuations, these kind of companies. I do think a lot of them will disappear, but some of them will be the next big thing. And I will try to create a basket of stocks on that space once the first, let's call it the first bubble deflates a bit, and we can see who's actually swimming naked and who is actually doing something productive for the future. So that is something that I'll be paying very close attention to, and I'll be investing also on that side. But that's going to be, it's going to take at least a couple of years before that's going to happen, so it doesn't really matter at this stage. Now, what else? Now, okay, let's step away from the financial economy and go into the real economy. And you see, the real economy, unfortunately, it's still, people are still struggling. You hear story after story after story. I mean, the media tries to sell you, oh, Bidenomics, this is great. Oh, Biden did this is excellent, blah, blah, blah. But then it's the president who with the lowest approval rating, I think of all time even, which, of course, that is the story, narrative. Biden is excellent. My God, people are so lucky to have him. This is the narrative. Reality, 33% approval rating. So, I mean, it just is what it is. Okay, so just ignore it. It's all about pushing the narrative that they want us to believe. The only thing you need to do is to look at reality. You see that credit card debt is at all-time highs. You see that delinquencies in payments are rising aggressively. And I do believe that 2024 we're going to see most likely at least very clear signs of recession in the US. Now, Japan is already in recession. China is, no, I don't want to hear anything about, oh, but their official numbers say, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's why everything around there is collapsing and their bank runs and all of that stuff. Yeah, it's because everything is great. Sure. Then you see Germany still in recession. UK just entered recession. Netherlands entered recession. France is almost there. Spain also lowering its growth. So you can see that those dynamics spreading across the planet. Now, shifting a little bit to the clown stocks, because we are getting into all-time highs territories on also other indices over the world. So not just, for example, the Nikkei in Japan, but others. And what's going to happen is, and I do think the Russell is now starting to perform a bit better. That index will always be heavily dependent on rate cuts. So as more rate cuts get priced in, the better the Russell will do. Why? It's filled with zombie companies, filled with garbage companies that need low interest rates to survive. So that is always going to be, the one to look at in terms of impact of interest rates. Not so much the Nasdaq anymore, because the Nasdaq is heavily concentrated on a few names which are heavily profitable. And this is something that people don't get. Okay, so if you take the big companies of the Nasdaq, they are sitting on piles and piles and piles of cash. When I say piles of cash, I'm talking about like 100 billion plus. Now, what that means is that if interest rates go high, they can place deposits and pay off lower interest rates from debts that they accumulated in the past. So they get the benefit of the higher interest rates today without the cost, because they're still paying the cost of the bond issuances that they've done in 2018, 2019, 2020, blah, 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 all of that. But when it comes to the garbage companies in the Russell, then those companies typically need to go for short-term debt, a higher coupon debt. So those are the ones that face the music much sooner than all the others. Now, one thing that is important to say, as we are going into the higher levels of the stock indices, what I think is going to happen is eventually we're going to start seeing the garbage stocks, the AMCs, etc., going up again. Now, not necessarily AMC, but AMC style of stocks. And I think they have earnings today, and I've already seen people like dancing because AMC was green or whatever. And that stock went from $73 to 40 cents. I think it's at 45 cents or 50 cents at the moment. And people still celebrate. And I go to places like New York Angelo just for fun. And he's still doing the same videos. AMC to $20,000. AMC bankrupt. The SEC is taking action. The SEC is refusing to take action. Thousands of views back and forth doing the same thing all over again. And I just look at it and say, look, these people will never stop. These people will never stop with these ridiculous pumps. And unfortunately, the only way that this is going to end is either because I think further dilution is coming on the pipeline. But I think what's gonna lead to eventually is even AMC is going to get acquired, delisted, or outright bankrupt. That's my opinion. That's what I think is going to happen. And hopefully by that time, these people will stop with all this crazy stuff. Oh, thank you, Soldier USA. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the nice comments. Now, let's shift into crypto, which is why everybody, I guess, is paying more attention at the moment. So Bitcoin crossed at some point, I saw 62,000. I think it pulled back a little bit to 60,000. If you go to Peter Schiff's Twitter or X, you're going to find it extremely amusing because he's struggling quite a lot to deal with the exodus of money from gold stocks and gold ETFs into crypto. And this is very important. It's now a matter of time, in case it's not obvious to everyone, that we're going to have new all-time highs on Bitcoin. And then his next step is every time Bitcoin sells off 5%, is to predict that that was the top, That was whatever. Oh, Soldier, thank you very much, man. $20. Thank you very much. But look, man, look, I really appreciate the donation. But I mean, I hope that you guys, invest your money and you do very well in this bull cycle. But in any case, look, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, and Soldier. Really, really nice of you. Thank you. Oh boy, I even got a little bit crazy. I see here. Oh, hey, Danny, how you doing? Thank you for coming. Don't forget, drop that like and subscribe. So I was saying that basically what we are repeating the cycle. So in case, yeah, apparently, Danny, Soldier was very kind and he dropped $20 super chat on me. I mean, thank you very much, guys. You really don't need to do that. I'm happy to just be here with you guys, with you listening. But thank you very much for supporting that. Now, I think what's going to happen, and I think this has been very clear across. I think if you've been listening to me since last year, I've been mentioning that to me it was clear that Bitcoin was going to ramp up into the ETFs, sell off. Then somebody asked me in the last live stream, I actually went and checked, how low will Bitcoin go? I said about 38,000. And then we went to 37,995 just to make me wrong for $5. And then we went straight up to around 48, 49K, which was the previous Bitcoin price when the ETFs launched. Now, I did a little bit of warning, which was, look, guys, between 50 and 60K, there's pretty much no resistance. So this thing can, if you're waiting too much for pullbacks and stuff like that, this thing can run to 60K before, you open your eyes and it's 60K and you go, oh my God, what happened? And then people, of course, enter at the end with with FOMOing in. So we are now very close to new all-time highs. Peter Schiff is having, I fear for him. I hope he doesn't collapse or something like that, because you can tell the level of madness that he's in. But that's how it is. Bitcoin actually, Ethereum is still outperforming Bitcoin for the year, which was my prediction. But it narrowed quite a lot. I think it's now 4% outperformance. We should be somewhere at around 20%, 25, 30% of Ethereum's outperformance. By the way, KB, I checked your question. I will answer in a little bit. But you guys remember that I was telling this the other day, which was, look, we know what happened to crypto projects on the third cycle. The returns disappoint everybody. Now, Ethereum is on its third cycle. Now, the question becomes, okay, Bitcoin is entering its fourth cycle. Is the third cycle pretty much the same as when people are losing weight, in which they lose weight easily the first week, the second week, but then the third week is famous for being difficult, but then the fourth week it resumes? Or will be the fourth cycle a continuation of the third cycle? To be seen. Who knows, right? We need to see this cycle to assess that. In my opinion, timing and the time of the things happening is more important than the actual price. Now, for you guys to have an idea, Bitcoin being at 60K at this moment, if you compare to the previous cycles, it's giving the possibility for the super cycle narrative to happen. Now, I want to say this very clearly, very early to say. So please, he's predicting a super cycle. No, he's not predicting a super cycle. I'm saying that if a super cycle was to come, this is what you would like to see in the beginning. Because if you take a fractal of the previous cycles, we should maybe be around, on the base case, about 38, 40, 42K. So being at 62K shows two things. First, you can already see the institutional money playing out. They have research departments, for sure. They are looking at the previous cycle. So they're front running a lot of these things. Also, the retail market, if you're in the fourth cycle and if it's repeating over and over and over again, you should be able to front run it a little bit by now. Now, to put a little bit of water on this, I do think that the Bitcoin halving, which is supposed to happen in 52, 53 days, let's call it beginning of April. That's going to be a big sell the news event in my view, like it's always been. Now, will it last 1 month? Will it last 3 weeks? Will it last 2 months? Because people know that then, okay, you have a big sell-off from the halving, then you have that big euphoric peak, and in the case of the previous cycle, you had the big euphoric peak, drop, and then another slightly island top filled with leverage by the likes of Michael Saylor, Three Arrows Capital, BlockFi, Celsius, FTX, Terra Luna, and all of those who went bankrupt. Not Michael Saylor didn't go bankrupt, but he was sweating a little bit at some point. But basically, all of that effort and leverage just to go from 65 to 69,000. Once again, to me, timing is more important. So timing, where we are in the cycle, is more important than the actual price of things. Because is the price at the moment higher? Yes. Is the movement and the time of the movement different than the previous cycles? No. That's the key. Now, what I think is going to be useful is after June, July 2024, is to start looking at potential top signals. That's going to be very key to me. What can be the top signal? Start thinking about it. Not sell everything and go away. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is start thinking, okay, what can be the big explosion of craziness that's going to create the top that nobody wants to see, and how long will it take for the other coins to follow? Now, I'm not so concerned because, as you know, I'm mostly on altcoins, which means that if Bitcoin tops, Ethereum should top 3 to 4 weeks after, and then after Ethereum tops, Pulse and PulseX and X and all the other altcoins should top about 7 days later. So the point being, if you're in the altcoins, you have a good idea of when the top is coming, but you have some time, to react at the potential top. But if you're not, it's a bit more difficult. So it's important to also keep this in mind. So don't go quick. Oh my God, this is it. Bitcoin will replace the dollar tomorrow. This kind of stuff. Relax a little bit. Now, one thing that I would like to say is that a lot of coins will start to go up. So the more Bitcoin goes up in the shorter period of time, the more craziness happens, the more degeneracy happens in literally garbage/scam coins. So be very careful with that, because it's going to be very appealing to go after the next coin that just hit 1,000x and all the influencers are talking about it and blah, blah, blah. And then the coin turning out to be a complete garbage. But that's part of the cycle. There's nothing that pumps harder than garbage, poop, or even scams. Nothing pumps harder than them in the shorter run. Of course, then they drop 99% and they die forever, and that's the end of it. Sorry, KB, do you consider the possibility that PLS and company might miss the bull cycle because of the SEC case? I don't think that's likely. The reason is, actually, the SEC has much less impact than it used to have. What do I mean by that? After they lost Coinbase, and there are rumors they're going to lose against Coinbase once again. Now that they've lost against XRP. Now that they've lost against, what was the other one? I digress. After they lost all these cases, the SEC has less and less importance. So if they go against Coinbase again and they lose again, that basically, there's a reason why it's not just Pulse and X and all the others. They all rose when Coinbase won. The Grayscale Bitcoin Trust to be converted to an ETF. So basically, all the other coins targeted, because it's not just Pulse, they targeted, what was it, like 90-something coins. Most of them, you all know them, like BNB, Polygon, and all of this. So it has less and less impact. Now, it's a good thing that you asked me that, because in case people haven't paid any attention, when we went up 400, 500% in Pulse and PulseX recently, the sacrifice wallet sent to Pulse Chain about $14-16 million. Now, that same wallet is moving around $46 million. And from what I've seen, has been staking it in very reliable protocols that give yield in DAI. Will they shift that yield into buying the coins? Who knows? The point is, I think that the Sacrifice wallet is going to be a bit active. I think they're going to give a little kickstart into the projects. That's why it's actually good that we have, $1.7 billion in the treasury. So there's a lot of things to help the coins move, because we all know what happens in the bull market. Can you have a good project? Yes, you can. Can you have a good founder? Yes, you can. Can you have great utility? Can you have impeccable code? Can you have all of that? Sure. If the candles are not green enough, you don't attract enough eyes. That's it. I mean, you remember when I told you when FTX went bankrupt back in October 2022? Remember when we were at Bitcoin 18,000, 20,000, and it seemed like we didn't go anywhere during the summer of 2023, which was part of the recovery year. You remember what I told you? And I told you this many times afterwards. What do people want? Do they want Bitcoin at 20,000 or at 15,000? No. When will they want it? At 50,000. Why? Because then it has green candles behind it. That's it. I mean, it really is what it is. People want to buy the green candle. People want to buy the coin that went up 1,000-fold. People want to buy. You see, when, in my opinion, of course I cannot guarantee this. You're asking me, can you guarantee that your retirement coins are going to go up? Of course not. I cannot guarantee any of that. Now, that's the reason also, because I also think, okay, what if I'm wrong? What if the projects are good, but for some reason this just doesn't happen? That's why I have a little bit of lottery tickets. You see, I have Pulse Spot, which is already up 100%. I have Pikamoon, which just closed the pre-sale this week, and it's going to go live in about 3 weeks. And I'm going to be a part of the fair launch of Pulse Launch. Now, am I going to use my main wallet? No. Am I going to drop thousands of dollars? No. But if I'm right, like if I hit some of those and I get like in the 100x or something, I'll be okay. Now, launchpads are doing well. And basically, they're copying some things of the paid network, which is doing very well. And they're copying some of the successful factors. So I have the feeling that actually is going to work out well. Now, what I'm looking is at also the fundamentals. Almost 200 content creators that are not paid, are not chilled, they didn't get private allocations. Where are the VCs? They don't exist. Is the code working well? Yes. Is it collapsing like Solana all the time? No. What do we need? We need volume and eyes on us. We need a little bit of less gatekeeping, some listing on exchanges, and all of those things. And, a supportive Sacrifice wallet. How many projects have 1.7 billion in treasury? So for all those reasons, I do think we're going to pump harder. Look, unfortunately, I think what's going to happen is it's going to, one of these days we go up about 400% within 30 days or so, and then everybody is happy again and excited and going crazy. It is what it is. It's look at the color of the candles, and they'll tell you the mood that you guys are in. Abdul, thank you very much. I'm really worried that BTC is pumping fast. Now look, as I've mentioned, we are still following the cycle. Is the price higher? Yes. But is the cycle different? So far, not. Can it be the case? Like, think about it. Why were the ETFs so important? For price, not the philosophy of decentralization and our money versus manipulation of. No, that is the philosophical part. I'm talking just strictly price. Why was it so important, ETFs? Because they allow people and institutions that couldn't touch crypto before be exposed to it directly. Now, if the price performs well, maybe they start creating IRAs and 401ks where they say, look, you can have a little bit more risk, but we can allocate 5% to Bitcoin via the ETFs. Maybe people say, sure, maybe you're like 25 years old or 30 years old and say, look, Bitcoin has performed very well over the years, but it's very volatile, blah, blah, blah. If you're a 25, 30-year-old person, if you have like 5 or 10% of your retirement funds allocated to Bitcoin, it's not a big deal, right? If you're in your 60s, 70s, and all of a sudden Bitcoin goes down 60%, that's a big deal, of course. But other than that, if that happens, then price can go completely ballistic. See, you need to understand, bond market is 400 something trillions. Stock market is about 280 trillion or so. Real estate market's about 220 trillion. Crypto, not Bitcoin, crypto is 2.2 trillion. Even gold is like 12 trillion. So in the sense that if you move, let's say, out of this 280 trillion, if you move 1% of it, how much is 1%? 2.8 trillion. So if you move 2.8 trillion, you double the market cap of entire crypto just like that with 1%. What if you move 2%? What if you move 3%? You see, I can also make the game of the parade of imaginary horribles. Crypto can go to zero tomorrow, internet can stop working, everything's gonna disappear, blah, blah, blah. This is the imaginary horribles. What if more countries follow the example of El Salvador? What if, pretty much everybody starts having a little bit of an allocation to crypto, or a big number of people via the ETFs in their retirement accounts and 401ks? What if, what if the fourth cycle is actually the super cycle? You see, I can play the game both ways. It depends on what you want. But guys, we are crossing about the half an hour mark. I think we covered quite a bit. Enjoy the ride. If this is your first bull market, you're in for a treat. Try to keep your mind clean. I cannot give you financial advice, but what I do is I place also some bets on other cryptos. I use a separate wallet, so that wallet never touches my main wallet with my main coins. So that needs to be very clear. And I drop, a little couple of $100 here and there. That makes no difference to me. If it goes very well, I'm a very happy man. If it goes to zero, well, that's not a big deal now, is it? So that's the point. It's called asymmetric risk. The risk is this, the reward is this. If I'm right, it's going to be a great adventure for me. And with that, guys, thank you very much. I think I'm going to be leaving. Enjoy the ride. I think it's going to be a funny one. And by the way, how funny would it be if the best crypto cycle we ever had was with high interest rates? That would be such a funny event. Like, they would catch everybody off guard, right? Because the idea was crypto can only succeed if interest rates are very low. So it was actually really funny if that happened. Thank you very much, guys. Once again, Soldier, thank you very much for the contribution. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next one. Don't worry, guys. The bull market is still starting. It's so funny how the majority of people, you remember when I was doing these videos back in 2023, and people had like zero interest in crypto. And I was saying, look, by Q4, you're going to start seeing this. By Q1, 2024, it's going to become obvious. And now everybody just wants to talk about crypto. That's it. Nothing else. Crypto everywhere. It is what it is, right? What a couple of green candles can do, right? Am I right? That's the point. The green candles come, the craziness comes back in. That's it. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.